Hey Reddit, throwaway account for obvious reasons. I never thought I'd be one of those guys posting here, but here I am, feeling lost, angry, numb, and honestly, just broken. I, 36M, have been married to my wife, Sarah, 34F, for 9 years, together for 12. We've got a 7-year-old son, a house we bought together, a shared Netflix account, and what I thought was a solid marriage. I wasn't blind to the fact that every relationship has its ups and downs, but I genuinely believed we were in it for the long haul. Things started to feel off about 3 months ago. Nothing dramatic, no big fights, no screaming matches, but it was like the air in our house got heavier. She was on her phone a lot more, always with the screen tilted away from me. Started wearing makeup just to go grocery shopping. Would get weirdly defensive if I asked who she was texting. The usual excuses, just my sister, work group chat, you're being paranoid. Now look, I'm not some insecure control freak. I gave her space. I trusted her. Maybe I was naive. No, scratch that, I was naive. But I also believe that if you're in a marriage, there's a basic level of transparency you owe each other. Anyway, it started with these small shifts. Fewer hugs, fewer kisses. Sex went from once or twice a week to once a month, and even then it felt mechanical, like she was just going through the motions. I chalked it up to stress. She said work was crazy. I tried to be supportive, made dinners, took care of our kid more, even planned a weekend getaway just for the two of us. She canceled it last minute, said her boss needed her for an emergency project. I believed her. God, I was such an idiot. So after she bailed on our weekend trip, I started getting this weird feeling in my gut. You know the kind, when your stomach's doing somersaults, but you can't quite put your finger on why. I didn't want to snoop. I hate the idea of invading someone's privacy. But then again, shouldn't your spouse's privacy not feel like a threat to your peace of mind? I let it go at first. I tried to act normal, told myself I was just being overly sensitive. But the little things kept piling up. One night, I got up around 1 a.m. to get a glass of water. As I walked past the living room, I saw the glow of her phone lighting up her face. She didn't notice me right away, so I stood there for a second. She was smiling. A real, it's the kind I hadn't seen in weeks. She was typing something fast, and then boom, she sees me. Her whole face changed like a switch flipped. She jumped, literally jumped, and quickly locked her phone. Me. Who are you talking to? Her. No one. Just couldn't sleep. Was scrolling Facebook. I didn't say anything, I just nodded and went back to bed. But I didn't sleep. The next day, I did something I'm not proud of. When she went to take a shower, I opened her phone. She'd changed the passcode. That's when I knew. I didn't have evidence yet, but the writing was on the wall. Sarah had never changed her phone password in over a decade. Suddenly, she had something to hide. Something or someone. I felt sick. My hands were shaking. My mind was racing. But I needed proof. If I was going to confront her, I needed to be absolutely sure. So I waited, and I started paying attention. And sure enough, the cracks began to widen. Okay, buckle up. This is where it gets ugly. A few days after the late night texting incident, I decided to stop playing nice. I needed answers. I wasn't about to go crazy chasing shadows and hunches, so I did what I had to do. I set up a spare phone I had in my drawer and installed a basic voice-activated recording app. I placed it under the passenger seat in her car. I hated myself for it. But I also couldn't go on like this, half alive, full of doubt, looking at the woman I built a life with and wondering who the hell she was texting at midnight while I was lying awake pretending not to notice. So fast forward 2 days. She goes to Target after work. I wait. She comes back with a couple of grocery bags, just enough to sell the lie. I retrieve the phone later that night and start listening. 15 minutes in, I almost drop the damn thing. It's her voice. Flirty, laughing, and then his voice. Male. Confident. Too familiar. They're talking about some hotel they used last time and how next time they should try the one by the lake. She makes a joke about me. Me. Says something like, he still thinks I'm staying late for inventory checks. He wouldn't know a lie if it hit him in the face. I'm not proud of what happened next. I threw up. Literally. Right there in our bathroom. It felt like someone had shoved a knife into my gut and twisted it slowly. I sat on the cold floor for what felt like an hour, just staring at nothing, my mind replaying their voices on loop. The betrayal was deafening. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the ease of it, the smugness, the way she joked about me like I was some clueless fool she had to work around. That's when something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to let this slide. I didn't sleep that night. I laid in bed next to her. Her, the woman I married, the woman who laughed about me in someone else's car and stared at the ceiling. My fists were clenched so hard my nails left little half moons in my palms. Morning came. She kissed me on the cheek before heading off to work like everything was fine. Like she hadn't just annihilated the last shred of trust I had. I waited until that evening. I wanted her to look me in the eye when I dropped the hammer. She walked in, smiled like usual, then went to pour herself a glass of wine. I followed her to the kitchen. How was work? Her sipping. Stressful. So much backlog, you wouldn't believe it. Oh, inventory checks? She froze. Just for a second, a half second. But I saw it, the flicker in her eyes. The wine glass paused at her lips. Her, yeah, inventory. Why? I pulled out the spare phone and played the recording. Her face went white. Her, what the hell is this? Are you spying on me now? Not sorry. Not let me explain. Not even this isn't what it sounds like. Just straight into offense mode, like I was the villain here. Me, I gave you every chance to come clean. Every chance, and you looked me in the face and lied. I didn't lie. You're overreacting. It's not like I love him. It's just physical. And I wouldn't have done it if you'd actually paid attention to me for once. Boom. There it was. My fault. I was the bad husband. I made her cheat. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Me, you had a choice. You could have talked to me. You could have ended it. But instead, you chose to screw some guy in a hotel and laugh about me like I'm some joke. She started crying, big dramatic tears. It just happened, she sobbed. It didn't mean anything. I was lonely. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even cry. I just stared at her like she was a stranger who wandered into my kitchen and put on my wife's face. I said, I need you to leave. And she did. No fight, no apologies, just grabbed her purse, muttered something like, we'll talk later, and left. I stood alone in the kitchen for a long time. That was the night I realized my marriage was dead. She didn't come home that night, didn't call, didn't text, not a single word, just vanished into the night like none of it mattered. I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at the spot where she usually plugged in her phone. Her slippers were still by the door, toothbrush in the holder. Her perfume still lingered in the bathroom. It was like her ghost was living in our house, and I was the one haunting it. I couldn't sleep. Again. I kept replaying everything in my head. The lies, the smirks, that smug, you're overreacting, like I was the lunatic for being gutted by her betrayal. I called my brother around midnight. He's the only person I could talk to without feeling judged or pitied. I told him everything, the secret phone recording, her reaction, the hotel conversations. He said, dude, that's not just cheating, that's malicious. And he was right. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was premeditated. She'd planned it. She laughed about it. And when I caught her, she didn't fall apart. She deflected. She blamed me. The next morning, I had to get our son ready for school like nothing happened. He asked where mommy was. I told him she had to go away for a few days for work. I lied for her. I hated myself for doing it, but how do you explain this kind of thing to a 7-year-old? Later that day, she finally texted me. I think we both need some space. Doc, I'm staying with a friend. Please don't make this more dramatic than it needs to be. More dramatic? She nuked our marriage and wanted me to stay calm? I didn't respond. The silence between us became a canyon, and that canyon was getting wider by the hour. 2 days after she left, I got a message from her mom, just a casual, hey, how are you two? Sarah said you're going through a rough patch. That's when it hit me. She was already rewriting the story, so I called her. Me, what exactly are you telling people? Her, sighing like I was the inconvenience. I'm just saying we're having issues. I'm not getting into details. So you're not telling them you cheated? Silence. Then, her, I don't think it's fair to air our dirty laundry. You're not perfect either. Me, I didn't lie, sneak around, or screw someone in a hotel. Her, you ignored me for years. Emotionally, that's not nothing. There it was again, flipping the blame. I could see now how this had worked in her head. She was turning this whole thing into my failure so she could sleep at night. I asked her one simple question, who is he? She hesitated, then said, just a guy from work. It wasn't serious. Bullshit. So I dug. I don't even know what snapped in me, but I was in full detective mode. I checked her Instagram, private of course, then remembered she had an old, unused Pinterest she never deleted. I logged in. Boom, there he was. Pictures saved of romantic getaways, couples holding hands at the beach, even hotel interiors from the exact chain she mentioned in the recording, all saved under a board titled Someday. Someday, they had plans. This wasn't just sex. This was an escape route. She'd built a fantasy life with someone else while I paid the mortgage and made her coffee every morning. I messaged her again. Tell me the truth. Are you in love with him? Her reply came 10 minutes later. I don't know. Maybe. I need time to figure it out. Time to figure it out. I was her husband, and she was weighing me like an option. Something inside me broke. This wasn't someone who made a mistake. This was someone who left me a long time ago and just forgot to tell me. After that last message, I don't know, maybe, I completely shut down. It was like someone flipped a switch. No more begging, no more hoping she'd come back to her senses. I felt like I'd been standing in a burning house for months, pretending it was just a little warm. Now I was finally walking out. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just changed. I started gathering evidence, screenshots of the text messages, voice recordings, her Pinterest board. I emailed everything to myself, then to a backup drive. I wasn't planning anything vindictive, but I was done being the guy in the dark. I called a lawyer. I didn't even think I could say those words. I think my wife is cheating and I want to understand my options. But I said them. And the moment I did, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. Meanwhile, she kept texting me like nothing had really happened. Hey, I need to grab some clothes. Can you leave a bag outside? Can we talk without making it hostile? Please don't tell my parents the whole story. They wouldn't understand. Oh, but I was expected to understand, right? She wanted a clean break. No mess. No drama. She wanted to walk away from nearly a decade of marriage like it was a lease on a car she was trading in. That night, she showed up at the house to get her stuff. I didn't let her inside. I handed her the bag and said, "You've got 5 minutes. After that, I'm locking the door." She had the audacity to look offended. Her, "You don't have to be cruel." Me, "I'm not being cruel. I'm giving you exactly what you gave me, distance." She rolled her eyes and walked off like I was overreacting. I watched her drive away, and for the first time in days, I didn't feel like chasing after her. I went back inside, sat on the couch, and whispered to myself, "She's already gone." A few days passed. I kept my head down, focused on work, on my son, on breathing. But it's like once the truth cracks open, it pours. Her best friend, let's call her Jenna, texted me out of nowhere. "Hey, I know things are messy right now, but I thought you should know something." She didn't sugarcoat it. Turns out the affair had been going on for months, since last fall. Multiple meetups, hotel weekends when she claimed to be at corporate retreats. There was even a weekend she said she was visiting her sick aunt. No aunt. Just another getaway with him. But the worst part, Jenna told me she tried to talk Sarah out of it. Apparently, Sarah had been venting to her friends for months, painting me as this inattentive, cold, checked-out husband. According to Sarah's version, I didn't see her anymore. I was emotionally unavailable and obsessed with work and routines. She made me out to be a robot, loveless, clueless. Jenna said, "I didn't believe it at first. I know you," but she was convincing. And honestly, I think she needed people to hate you, so she didn't have to hate herself. That hit like a freight train. So not only did she cheat, she built a narrative around it. She constructed this fantasy where she was the victim, so she could justify sneaking around with some guy from work. My marriage had become a lie in her head long before I ever hit record on that phone. And you know what stung most? Not the cheating, not the lying. It was realizing that for months, the woman I loved had been actively turning me into a villain, so she could sleep with someone else and still feel like the hero. That night, I deleted every photo of us from my phone. I backed them up on a hard drive for my son, mostly, but I couldn't stand to look at them anymore. Every smile felt fake. Every kiss now looked rehearsed. I poured myself a drink, sat on the back porch, and just let it hurt, because damn it, it really hurt. About a week later, just as I was beginning to find my footing again, she called. Not texted. Called. I let it go to voicemail. I wasn't ready to hear her voice. A few minutes later, she texted, Please, I want to talk in person. Can I come by? Against my better judgment, I said yes. I guess I needed closure, or maybe just confirmation that she was really gone, even if her body still showed up in our kitchen. She came over the next day, hair done, makeup on, wearing the same perfume she wore on our anniversary last year. Classic manipulation move. We sat at the table where we used to play Uno with our son, where she once told me she couldn't wait to grow old with me. She looked me in the eyes and said, I made a mistake. I didn't flinch. Her. It wasn't love. It wasn't even serious. I think I just needed attention. I didn't feel like you saw me anymore. I said nothing. He doesn't matter. He's not you. You're the father of my child, my husband. I want to fix this. I want to come home. And just like that, she was trying to flip the switch again, from mistress to wife, like it was a role she could just jump back into. I finally spoke. Why now? Why not when I asked you months ago if something was wrong? Why not the night I confronted you? Her voice cracked. I was scared. No, I said. You were selfish. You weren't scared when you lied. You weren't scared in the hotel. You were scared now because you didn't expect me to grow a spine. She broke down crying, full-on tears. It felt rehearsed. And I'm not proud of this, but I didn't comfort her. I just watched because in that moment, I saw her clearly, not as the woman I married, but as the stranger who broke me. I told her, you're not coming back here. Not now. Maybe not ever. You need to leave. She begged, swore she'd change, promised therapy, counseling, anything. But I'd heard her promises before. The only difference was, now I believed myself more than her. She left angry, accused me of being cold and unforgiving, said I was throwing away our family. But I didn't throw anything away. She did. I just finally stopped trying to pick up the pieces for someone who kept smashing the glass. I thought that would be the end of it, that she'd walk away and start her new life with her new guy. But no, that wasn't enough for her. 3 days later, I got an email from her. Subject line, we need to talk custody. Custody. Suddenly, she was framing herself as the concerned, responsible parent. In the message, she wrote that she was willing to be civil and collaborative, but thought it was best if our son stayed with her during the week because she had more stability. I almost laughed. This was the same woman who disappeared for entire weekends and lied about where she was, and now she wanted to play the stable parent card? No. So I replied with a simple message. You're free to talk to my attorney about custody. I won't be discussing it directly. That set off a firestorm. She blew up my phone with texts. You're using lawyers now? Wow. I thought we agreed to not get ugly. I didn't even cheat. Not really. It wasn't emotional. This is so petty and vindictive. That last one made me snap. I texted, you cheated, you lied, you gaslit me. You tried to come back when plan B didn't work out. Now you want to play the victim? No, you don't get to rewrite this. She didn't respond after that. Not for a while. But I found out through Jenna that the guy, her not emotional affair partner, dumped her. Apparently, once things got real and she started talking about leaving her husband, he ghosted her. Class. So now she was out of a marriage, out of a boyfriend, and scrambling to hold on to control. And when people like her lose control, they get dangerous. She started telling mutual friends that I had been emotionally abusive, that I neglected her, isolated her, made her feel unsafe. Total fiction. But it spread fast. I even had one of my own cousins text me. Man, I don't know what really happened between you two, but if she says she felt scared, maybe you should listen. Scared? That woman once screamed at me for buying the wrong almond milk. But sure, she was scared. It was all about damage control now, rebranding. She couldn't fix what she broke, so she started painting herself as the victim of a cold, distant, unfeeling man. But the truth? The truth was in the voicemail. The truth was in the texts. The truth was in the months she spent kissing someone else while telling me she loved me. And I was done pretending it was more complicated than that. Up until this point, I'd kept quiet to most people. I hadn't told her parents what she'd done, partly out of respect, partly because I thought maybe I didn't need to stoop that low. But when she started spreading lies about me, that changed real fast. Her mom called me one evening, calm voice, concerned tone. We heard you and Sarah are separating. She said things haven't been right for a while. We just want to make sure our grandson is okay. I paused, took a breath, and then I told her the truth. I told her about the affair, about the man from work, about the hotel weekends, the fake trips, the voicemail. I told her everything, not to turn her against her daughter, but because she deserved the truth before Sarah warped the narrative even more. Her mom went silent. Then she said, I had no idea. No denial, no excuses, just quiet disappointment. Turns out, Sarah had told them I was having a midlife crisis and had kicked her out for no reason. She made herself sound like some battered housewife just trying to hold the family together. Her dad called me the next day. Let's just say he wasn't as calm. I didn't raise her to be like this. I am ashamed. We talked for almost an hour. It was strange. He and I had never been that close. But that night, we were two men trying to make sense of a woman who had burned down her own life with a smile on her face. Later that evening, Sarah texted me. I can't believe you dragged my parents into this. That was low. I replied. They asked. I told the truth. You should try it sometime. She didn't respond. But the next day, Jenna messaged me. Whatever you said to her parents shook her. She's losing it. I won't pretend I felt bad. I didn't. Because for the first time since this whole nightmare started, the weight wasn't just on me anymore. She couldn't keep pretending I was the villain in her story. Not when the people closest to her were finally seeing behind the mask. And honestly, it felt good. About a week after I spoke to her parents, Sarah reached out again, not with insults this time, not with crocodile tears or gaslighting, with an offer. I've started therapy. I want to understand why I did what I did. I want us to try counseling together, for our son, for our family. I stared at that message for a while. Therapy? Now? After the lies, the manipulation, the affair, the smearing of my name, part of me, the old me, wanted to believe it, to hope this was real, that maybe the shock had finally hit her, that she was finally taking responsibility. But then I remembered the voicemail. I remembered the gaslighting. I remembered her sitting across from me, lying to my face, even after she knew I knew, replied, I'm glad you're getting help. I hope it helps you, but I'm not interested in couples counseling. I'm done. She didn't take it well. First came guilt. You're giving up on our family, on our son. Then the desperation. I'll do anything. Just one session, please. Then the threats. If we don't at least try, I'll have to tell the court you were unwilling to reconcile. That might hurt your custody chances. Ah, there it was. The real reason. Not remorse. Not love. Leverage. She wasn't asking for therapy to fix what she broke. She was trying to build a defense. That was my final clarity. It was never about saving us. It was about saving face. I told her, simply, use whatever story you need to sleep at night. I'll see you in court. And I meant it, because no amount of therapy could undo what she did, not just the cheating, but the manipulation that followed. The calculated way she tried to rewrite reality, to weaponize our history, to hurt me and call it healing. From that moment on, I stopped hoping she'd change. I started preparing to heal without her. Fast forward to our first custody hearing. I'll be honest, my hands were shaking walking into that courthouse. Even after everything, part of me was still afraid she'd somehow win, that her lies would work again, that she'd cry the right tears in front of the judge and I'd walk out with weekend visits and a shattered heart. But I had come prepared. Emails, texts, screenshots, the voicemail, I had it all. My attorney had built a timeline of her affair, her sudden absences, her attempts to manipulate custody, even the smearing of my character. I had character witnesses, including Jenna, who stood by me through it all. Sarah walked in like it was a damn fashion show. Designer dress, perfect hair, crocodile smile. I could feel the performance coming before she even opened her mouth. She cried on cue, told the judge I was cold and emotionally distant, that I refused to communicate, that she felt abandoned long before the affair happened. She even threw in a line about me controlling the finances to isolate her. Total fiction. Then my lawyer played the voicemail. You could hear a pin drop. Even the judge raised an eyebrow. Sarah went pale. Her attorney looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Then came the texts, her mocking me to her affair partner, joking about how easily I was being strung along. By the end of it, her victim mask was slipping hard. When I testified, I didn't trash her. I stuck to facts. I told the truth about the timeline, how I tried to fix things, how I found out, and how she tried to turn it all back on me. I talked about our son, how I wanted to co-parent, but not at the cost of my dignity or his stability. The judge listened. asked some questions, took notes, and then he said something I'll never forget. This isn't about punishing either parent. It's about protecting the child. And from what I've seen, one parent here is living in reality, and one is still trying to control the narrative. I walked out of that courtroom with 50-50 custody, a court order for all communication to go through a parenting app, and validation I didn't even know I needed. Sarah, she looked like she'd been hit by a truck. She didn't even say goodbye. And for the first time in a long, long time, I didn't care. After the court ruling, something strange happened. I didn't feel the instant relief I expected. I thought I'd walk out of that courtroom feeling triumphant, vindicated, free. Instead, I got in my car, shut the door, and just sat there in silence. It was quiet, too quiet, like the aftermath of a storm where everything's still standing but nothing feels the same. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't even text anyone. I just stared at the steering wheel and whispered, "It's really over." Because it was. Finally. Legally. Emotionally. Spiritually. And I was alone. That first week was rough. I was learning how to live in a house that used to be filled with her footsteps, her laughter, fake as it turned out, and even her damn passive-aggressive sticky notes on the fridge. I cleared out the last of her stuff, clothes, jewelry, those candles she always bought and never lit. It felt like scrubbing a wound raw, but it also felt necessary. I deleted old photos. I unfollowed her on every platform. I stopped checking to see if she viewed my stories. I stopped waiting for a text that never came. And slowly something strange started to creep in. Peace. I could breathe again. I could eat what I wanted without judgment. I could spend an afternoon with my son without worrying she'd twist it into a neglect narrative. I even started going on long walks. No destination, no headphones, just me, my thoughts, and the sound of my own life slowly coming back. I started writing again, journaling at first, then actually working on that novel I abandoned years ago. People asked me if I was going to start dating. I told them, eventually, but not now. Because for the first time in years, I was finally in a relationship that needed fixing. The one with myself. And that was more important than any rebound. Sarah, meanwhile, Jenna told me she's still playing the victim card. She posts vague quotes about betrayal and strength and rising from ashes like she's the one who got burned. I don't even react anymore. Let her tell whatever story she needs to tell. I know the truth. So does the judge. So do the people who matter. And most importantly, so do I. It's been a few months now. My son is doing well. He's adjusting. Kids are resilient. And I make sure every moment with him is filled with stability and love. Not performative, not out of guilt. Just present. Something our marriage had been lacking for a long time. As for me, I'm not healed, whatever that really means, but I'm not broken anymore either. I've had time to think, reflect. And here's what I've learned. Step 1, trust your gut. Those little red flags, the subtle changes in routine, the gaslighting that makes you second guess reality, that's not paranoia. That's intuition being ignored. 2, cheating isn't just about sex. It's about betrayal, secrecy, and the slow erosion of safety. What hurt the most wasn't her body in someone else's hands. It was the lies, the manipulation, the smiling in my face while plotting behind my back. 3, people will show you who they are, believe them. After the first lie came another. After the first fake apology came a threat. After the first plea for therapy came an ultimatum. Patterns tell stories. You don't need closure from a liar. I kept waiting for her to say sorry and mean it. She never did, and that's okay. I gave myself closure by choosing peace over chaos. 5, your worth isn't tied to someone else's inability to love you right. Read that again. And if you're someone reading this because you're in it right now, confused, heartbroken, wondering if you're crazy for feeling what you feel, you're not alone. Document everything. Don't retaliate. Just protect yourself. Don't beg them to stay. Ask yourself why you wanted someone like that in your life to begin with. Lean on your support system, even if it's just one friend, even if it's a stranger on Reddit. You'll survive this. You'll come out on the other side with scars, yes, but you'll also come out smarter, stronger, and more yourself than you've been in years. I'm proof of that. Thanks for reading Reddit. I didn't expect to share all this when I first started typing part 1, but it's been weirdly therapeutic. If this helps even one person feel less crazy in the middle of betrayal, it was worth it. Stay strong out there. A guy who finally woke up.